Have added their voices to the chorus of condemnation, including the UN High Commissioner for Refugees, the International Organization for Migration, also calling for urgent collective intervention by the government, media and civil society to prevent violence against migrants. Well, to discuss, we're now joined by that organization's Richard Ots from the International Organization for Migration. He's in our Pretoria studio. Here in Johannesburg, I'm joined by Mphuthi Mphuthi from the Soweto Business Access. Good evening to you both, gentlemen, Mphuthi and Richard in Pretoria. Let me start with you. Government's response so crucial, but you're saying it's reactive. We need something stronger. Just explain.
Yes, thank you. Absolutely. Reactive is absolutely necessary at this point. Clearly, the situation is getting out of hand or has gotten out of hand. And the government needs to acknowledge that priority number one at this point is to protect particularly the shop owners, the migrants, but also South African citizens in Durban in the affected areas. Protection, and secondly also the perpetrators that are at the heart of this should be brought to justice, should be arrested and should be brought to justice. That is absolutely priority number one. And until that happened, until the situation calms down, there's no point in talking about analysis of the root causes or anything. This is what needs to happen with the highest priority. However, when the situation calms down, I think we should carefully look into the underlying causes of this violence against migrants. Is it really xenophobia, as a lot of people say? And I would say to a large degree it probably is. There's an element of xenophobia in there. But I think the situation is a bit more complex than just labeling all the violence against migrants as xenophobic. There's a bit more to it, and I think that needs to be properly understood before we can take any action to correct this.
We'll get to that, the underlying social issues and unemployment as well. Mphuthi, let me first come to you. We spoke earlier when there were apparent xenophobic attacks in Soweto. Just right now, what is the mood like in Soweto? We're seeing the violence in Durban, but there must be some fear among foreigners at the moment.
Well, Francis, since we last spoke, there had been discussions that had been facilitated by the Small Business Minister, Minister Lindiwe Zulu, facilitating discussions between us, foreign national bodies. And I'm happy to say that there's been common ground that has been identified. But what is of importance is the fact that we believe that there is a lot of room for foreign nationals to do business, not necessarily where South Africans are currently operating, meaning at the retail level. We at Soweto Business Access, together with the SPAZA Association, SASTA, we've been very emphatic that we need to make sure that foreign nationals do business in South Africa, but they've got to complement South African business. They must not compete necessarily in a way that is going to compromise the little money that they've got, having been jobless because of retrenchments, etc., etc. So we're on point of saying we believe there is room for them, but not necessarily at the spaces that a lot of black South Africans are operating in.
Mphuthi, isn't this response problematic? Because underlying, there seems to be a vague threat that you can come to this country, but you must share your business secrets. That's what we were talking about before. Sharing knowledge. Now you're saying they should operate in areas where South Africans aren't threatened. We're not saying unconditionally, you are African brothers, you are welcome in this country. We know that there are benefits to having African entrepreneurs here.
Okay, two things are important, Francis. How many businesses that are owned by Chinese have been attacked? I cannot recall any businesses that are owned by Chinese being attacked, largely because they are operating largely at a wholesale level and thereby complementing the retail business that a lot of black South Africans are operating in. The World Bank, last year, our premier quoted the World Bank as saying that Soweto on its own, it's a 10 billion rand economy. Now, a huge chunk of that, it is white-owned businesses, the likes of the Pick n Pays that are operating in the townships, and a very, very small portion thereof comprises small informal businesses. And as a result, when you find Chinese businesses operating in South Africa, they complement the small businesses so that we can grow. But what we have picked up with foreign nationals, let's say from Ethiopia, from Bangladesh, they compete with people that have been waiting for this government to come up with a small business ministry. It is after 20 years that we've got a small business ministry. And it is for the very first time that the issues pertaining to small business development are being addressed a lot more earnestly. And as a result, I'm saying we are very keen on working with people that are going to make small business grow so that we do not remain small forever.
Richard, let me come to you. Do you have any response to the message that's coming out here, Mphuthi representing small business owners in Soweto, saying that foreign nationals should be careful not to compete if they come into this country? What about the rhetoric here?
Yeah, I think that is. I think it sends a very difficult message to foreigners. The message that it sends basically, you're not welcome unless you're not welcome unless you play by our rules. I think that is a very difficult and very dangerous message to send. If you do want foreign investors to come to South Africa, you need not convey a message like this. And secondly, particularly for South Africa, I wonder if is this not the new apartheid that we're talking about? Migrants are not allowed to operate this kind of business. Migrants are not allowed to operate that kind of business. Is this really the route that you want to travel with foreigners in this country? And then thirdly, from an economic perspective, and I'm not sure it works that way. I'm not sure that you can run an economy while excluding certain people from certain lines of business. I think from an economic perspective, business operates most effectively if it is unconstrained by those kind of exclusions. And then as a final point, I think it is unconstitutional as well. I don't think constitutionally that you can exclude large groups of people from certain lines of business.
Mphuthi, your response, and this has been said before, that some of the messages, with all due respect, that are coming out are exclusionary. Some say along racial lines. He's referring to a new form of apartheid. What about that?
Francis, it's 20 years since we've requested a small business ministry. And for the very first time, we've got an opportunity to have our businesses.
But you're saying South African small business.
Yes,
it mustn't
correct.
be all small businesses.
I cannot talk on other people's behalf. I'm saying we've waited very long for this small business ministry to be put into place. And as a result, we believe it is an opportunity for us to be competitive. All along, we have been trying to make ends meet with no support whatsoever. And as a result, it becomes very difficult for people like those to then find it easy to compete with people whose funding sources are not clarified. But the point is that we have been in discussion with the minister, and she is aware that we welcome business people from all walks of life, from every corner of the globe, as long as end of the day we are going to grow. Now, two things are important. The first one is that we have not seen big business being vocal about this. We haven't seen big business coming down to the township to be able to come up with the remedies. We know that the likes of Unilever, the likes of Coca-Cola, they've got interventions in terms of leadership, resolution, interventions and all those. They've got ways in which we can clarify the situation, but we are not seeing them come into the party. And the question is why? Why must it be small businesses on the ground that are having to tackle such a big issue? So we are challenging small business to be able to show its colors and be able to come down and solve this question of relations between different cultural groups.
Okay, so you want more people involved. I hope to come back to that. But Richard, let me ask you about the response from African countries themselves. Somalia, Malawi reportedly saying we may want to repatriate our citizens. Is that the right response from their side?
I think it's an understandable response. It's not obviously something that we would like to promote. We feel that foreigners have a rightful place, also migrants have a rightful place in South Africa. And if Malawi and Somalia at this point are calling for their citizens to go home, or encouraging the citizens to go home, and I think that indicates that they feel that migrants are not welcome and not safe in the country, which is not the kind of reputation I think that South Africa should want. And it is also not the kind of reputation that would go well with business owners, with foreign investors that are interested in investing in South Africa. If what they're getting from the media, if what they're getting from the news is that foreign nationals are leaving South Africa because they fear for the safety, which foreign investor in their right mind would still choose to invest in South Africa? It is currently small business that is feeling the violence against the foreign investors and the foreign businesses. But what is to say that the next step is not the larger businesses? How safe are the bigger businesses that are foreign owned? And if they do feel that this may ultimately impact their bottom line, will they continue to invest in South Africa? And I would guess my guess would be that the answer to that question would be no.
No, so you're saying there won't be bigger knock-on effects? Let me just clarify. No,
I'm saying that there will be. I think I think foreign investors, when they look at the situation, I think they will hesitate to continue to invest in South Africa because they fear that ultimately they too, the bigger businesses, will too start feeling the impact of the intolerance and the xenophobia, if that's what you want to call it. So I think this is bad for business climate, and I'd be very cautious to continue to walk this way of excluding foreign business owners from certain sectors of the economy.
Of course, we also have South Africans operating across Africa. Thank you, Richard. Let me give the final word to Mphuthi, though. You were talking about big business. He's saying that big business could actually be deterred from this country. We desperately need investment. We desperately need jobs. Your response to that, and what are you hoping that big business should be doing?
Francis, big business has been instrumental in bringing down apartheid. Through sanctions that were imposed against the apartheid government, big business showed their colors, and we are saying that big business must come down to where the problem is. We know they've got the means for conflict resolution given where they operate. And as a result, we are saying in Soweto Business Access, we are more than happy to work with anyone that is going to make small businesses competitive, so that when situations permit, we can then be able to believe that the ground is level between us and foreign nationals. But right now, we stand no chance, and that's why we've got to, at all costs, try to make sure that it's South African interests that are catered for first.
All right, lots of strong words tonight. A big concern. Thank you so much for your time. That was Richard Ots from the International Organization for Migration in Pretoria, Mphuthi Mphuthi from the Soweto Business Access in Johannesburg.